multiple births webinar series for 2018. Actually, it's our first webinar series ever, and we are so thrilled to have you all here. So I'm hoping that you can hear me. My name is Ruth Morton. I am one of the directors on the board of directors for Multiple Births Canada. And I'm going to introduce the speaker, but before I do that, we have a fantastic speaker. I'm so excited that she's joining us here tonight. Before we do that, though, I have a couple of housekeeping things that I just need to go over really quickly. So welcome. Please ensure that your computer audio is turned up and unmuted. If you can hear me, then you're doing great. And if you can't hear me, I'm really hoping that you're reading the screen so that you do turn on your audio. If the webinar presentation ever freezes or, Laurel's voice all of a sudden cuts out or whatever, just refresh your browser or press F5 and that should get it kick-started again, but hopefully you won't have to. Please note that the webinar is being recorded. Now, having said that, your presence in our webinar won't necessarily be recorded unless, now, if you ask a question and you put your name on it, and then your name would be attached to that question. But other than that, you don't have to worry about it. And speaking of questions, if you look on your screen to the right, there is something called Skype Q&A, and that is where you can type in any question. So it could be a question about anything, except the meaning of life, because I don't know. But if you have a technical issue, if you have a question for our speaker, anything at all, and I'll be fielding those questions. And if it's a question that I can answer, I will respond to you. If it's a question that maybe a lot of people are asking me, I might respond and broadcast it to everybody and say, here's the answer to this question that you've all been asking me. Excuse me. Also, if oh, sorry, a little bit tickle my throat. If you have a question for our speaker, I will ask Laurel that question. So I think, one other thing, please fill out our feedback survey. So at the top of your screen, there is a little link says survey. Before you leave the webinar, if you could just click on it, it's a really quick survey. It'll just kind of give us some feedback about how the webinar went, how the registration process was, what kind of things you would like us to do in the future. And that'll give us a lot of guidance, and we would really appreciate that. So without further ado, I am going to introduce our speaker, Laurel, who I am so excited is here with us. So Laurel has, she has a BA in Child Studies, and she's a certified adult educator. So she's got the credentials. She's also got over 20 years of family coaching experience, supporting parents and children on all sorts of topics related to stress, worry, anxiety, and she deals with mindfulness and meditation. She is a highly sought after speaker, again, which is why we're so thrilled to have her with us tonight. Especially on the topics of self-development, parenting, and child development. She gets interviewed for television, radio, and she's been featured in several print publications. She's very devoted to supporting mental health promotion and education as it relates to families. Because many of Laurel's clients struggle with participating in, the traditional classroom settings, she set out to find ways of supporting them. And she's developed this holistic program and coaching approach that is whole child centered, ensuring that children and their families are supported in mind, body, and spirit. So without further ado, Laurel, I'm going to hand it over to you. I'm going to just put up your first page there. And if you want to take over as a speaker, then I will give control to you and you can take it away.
Thank you so much, Ruth. First of all, I sound just amazing on that screen there.
You do.
Wow, I'm pretty impressive. Sorry. As you can tell, I like to laugh a lot and I like to joke a lot. So I'm really excited to be here. I have met quite a few of the families through Multiple Births Canada. A few years ago, I did some workshop and keynote speaking at one of your conferences in, I believe it was London, Ontario. And, you know, this has always been my passion. Whether you're a mother or a parent or a father to a singleton, or whether you have multiple births, my passion really is to, first of all, look at the child and really take a look at how they may be struggling and what they're struggling with, and then address the family, and then address sort of the other community members that are outside of that. So my topic tonight is from winter blahs to winter yeehaws. So praying that I can actually change the slide. If not, Ruth, I may get you to do this for me because, oh, there we go. I think I did it. Oh, things are looking good. Wheels are turning.
Awesome.
So,
looks good.
Yay!
Good.
I did it. I did it, everyone. Woohoo! Okay, so let's talk about sort of the things that I hear from families. It's really interesting to me, and I will interject with a lot of, I'll call them stories from my private coaching practice, from the workshops I do. You know, right now we seem to have, and this time of year, so we've got this time of year, which is we've just come off of, you know, holiday time. We've just come off of, you know, transitioning out of school and then back to school. We're transitioning, excuse me, to work, from work. We're making a lot of transitions, and there are some families that do it beautifully. They're flying through life and everything is easy, and they've started back to their extracurricular activities, and they've launched into school, and everyone looks so beautiful, and you know, they're all calm and peaceful, and everything's a smooth transition. Then there are the families that I meet who are struggling. They are struggling with a whole bunch of things this time of year. We were very spoiled this year, and we were spoiled because we had such a long, extended summer that transitioned into a beautiful long fall, and then blammo, we were nailed with winter. And for a lot of people, that winter time is very difficult. It's cold. A lot of families that I work with don't like to be outside, or if they like to be outside, they like it when it's warm. They don't like that transition to cold. So we really went from summer, in my opinion, to winter. We went from hot, beautiful days to blam. We've got 63,000 feet of snow on our front lawn and freezing temperatures. And that's hard. That's hard on us physically. That's hard on us also from a mental health perspective. So we've got that transition. Let's also slap in there that really December is the crazy time, the crazy month where everybody's ramping up for holidays. We've got 80 trillion. Oh, I forgot to mention to everyone that I exaggerate quite a bit, but we've got all of this, all of these events that are coming up. December is literally kind of a write-off month for many people. And so if you have children that are school-aged children, then they are in their classrooms and they're feeling all that energy, all that craziness, literally from the teachers, literally from fellow students. They're also feeling it, you know, from their parents. So we've got a lot of crazy kind of holiday type of hype that can really affect families. Now, then, so you have that ramping up, that kind of crazy energy, and then, whoop, like that, the holidays are over, or that specific, you know, if you practice, you know, Christianity, or if you have that Christmas holiday. So yeah, that all kind of comes to an end abruptly on the 26th of December. And then you're left with families sort of chilling for a couple of weeks in between the transition back to school. So again, we go from this hype to then, shh, where we literally almost stop. And then we have this quiet time. Well, maybe we've got some vacation, some family things that we have to do. But then we launch right back into the chaos again. And for many of us, and for many of the families, and from the parents, and from the kids, I hear, and even the teachers, it's crazy. You're really high, then you got a real low or calm, and then you've got really, giant kind of transition back to school and extracurriculars and whatever else you're doing in the new year. So that transition, post-holiday stress, really can be as impactful or have as much impact or the same impact or even more impact than the transition, the pre-holiday stress. So something to consider for your families. The other thing that's going on, if you are watching television, if you use Facebook, if you are watching Instagram, if you are on any type of social media, you will see people talking about the new year. I'm going to make 73 million New Year's resolutions or intentions for this year. I've got to drop, 10 pounds so that I can be ready for my vacation and wear that bathing suit that, nobody's ever going to see you in. But, that's where your head is at. Or all the commercials for diets, all the commercials for healthy eating. There is a lot of pressure, and I don't know how aware you are of that. In the first 2 to 3 weeks of January, you see more commercials for more weight loss programs. If you're still, on that cable thing, if you're on Netflix, yeehaw, you don't have to worry about that. But you see all these people talking about, I have to make these transitions. I have to set these intentions. I have to set these goals. I have to have this vision. And now I see there's a lot of adults saying, we got to do this for our kids. What a great idea for our kids. For a lot of people, this is extremely stress-filled. It makes people feel insignificant. It makes them feel inferior. We have a real situation in our parenting communities where we are literally comparing ourselves all the time to people on, as somebody once said to me, Facebook. And there's nothing against Facebook because I find it's a great place to talk to parents privately. But Facebook, where everybody's showing, here's my new body, here's my new program, here's my vision board, here's this, here's what I'm doing. Don't we look great? We have a real problem with comparative analysis and feelings of insecurity when we go on these social media platforms. So, we've got mass marketing messages. We've got everybody talking about their New Year's resolutions, their intentions, their vision boards. We've got flooding of people creating or saying they're going to create changes. So what's really interesting to me is sort of the beginning of February, that all that marketing's gone. No one's talking about what they did at the beginning of the year. Nobody can even remember what their intention was or even what their resolution was because we get caught up in life. So that's another stressor is, this time of year and the pressure to make big dramatic changes in your life. Another thing that people don't think about, but I hear parents talking about all the time is the clearing up and the cleaning up from the holidays. And what I mean by that is that we are acquirers. Many of us acquire lots and lots and lots and lots of things through the holidays. We acquire food. We acquire relatives. Sometimes they don't leave and we need to kick them out. I'm just kidding. We acquire goods. And so not only are we are we having to deal with the idea of cleaning up? Now we got to find space to put everything. And then that kind of leads us down the path of, oh my gosh, I got to get rid of stuff, because you got to get rid of 3 things and then bring in 1 thing and got to live a simple life. And that goes back to my intentions and my vision and people literally are losing their minds over cleaning up clearing up after the holidays. And oftentimes we don't think about that as an important thing to consider. That's stressful, especially for my kids who may be slightly on the spectrum and have a place for everything that it goes, and the idea of bringing new things in. And you know what mums and dads like to do? We like to help. And those children literally lose their mind because you're going into their space and it's all orchestrated and organized to support them. And then you're bringing in new stuff. So, and we'll talk a little bit at the end of the presentation on building your kids into this whole idea of, you know, making things much calmer in the home. The other thing we need to think about is the weather, which I alluded to before. It's been so bitterly cold that the schools are keeping our kids in at recess. And it's funny, I do presentations at the preschool level to a couple of schools, and I do presentations, and I'm in the school once a month. And then I'm in a private school that goes from JK all the way up to grade 8. And honest to goodness, when the children can't get outside, the whole school goes into chaos. So imagine, it's like herding cats. I am sure of it. Herding cats in the classroom. The teachers, you know, their hair's flying all over the place. They got one eyeball hanging on their cheek because they want to, you know, they want their kids to get outside. The kids aren't getting the fresh air. But when you've got those super, super cold temperatures, it affects their ability to go outside. And we're being told, keep your kids inside. Now, it's funny, I'm going to sound like that, you know, that grandmother who's complaining about, I used to walk to school 80 million miles uphill one way, you know, kind of thing. But I don't remember us ever having a day where we didn't go outside unless school was canceled because the snow was too heavy. We went out. We put on our one-piece attractive snowsuits. I had one of those. I don't know how many of you had one of those. You know, jammed on your boots, had your scarf, had your mitts, and we went out. It's not the same today. Now, I don't know what the temperature difference is from when I went to school to today. There may be something to that, but, you know, we do keep our kids inside. It's so dark. I don't know if you've noticed, the longest day of the year, I believe, is December the 22nd. Funny enough, my brother's birthday, and my mom always joked about, you know, I know why it was the longest, darkest night. It's because your brother was born. He was the firstborn. So, you know, and some of you have had firstborn, secondborn, thirdborn. Some of you did, you know, delivered a few at once. So, you know, but she always jokes about that. Now the days are starting to get lighter. I don't know if you've noticed it. And I actually feel better. I don't know if you've noticed that you yourself feel better now that the sunlight is starting to return. It's not as dark when you get up in the morning, you know, and we've actually, it seems like there's more light for us. So many of us are stuck inside, and really, you know, I'm thinking back to snowsuit days, and I don't know how many parents on here have children in snowsuits and little ones, but to get everyone outside in this freezing weather, excuse me, you know, get all your appropriate clothing on, plus the cold weather alerts, plus people are telling you not to go outside. It, for many families, is too much to attempt to do this. So the weather actually affects, you know, us feeling really blah at this time of year. And it's not on this list, but, you know, we don't have access to local, fresh fruits and vegetables, produce. We don't have access to it. So we're getting stuff in that may or may not be as healthy for us in the wintertime or excuse me, in the summertime as it is now. And that, dietary connection is also something that can wreak havoc with us because we're not getting the same amount of vitamins and minerals. And actually, my family physician just said, Laurel, you have to start taking vitamin D drops. So I'm doing the drops now because she said you don't have access to sunlight. So that can affect our physiological self. And then let's just face it, many, many, many families are dealing with their mental health, whether it's the child's mental health, parental mental health, maybe you have a grandparent living with you. This time of year for many people is extremely difficult. Lots of issues rear their heads under the umbrella of mental health. And so these are just a few of the things that we are dealing with from, sort of that contribute to those winter blahs. So let's take a look now at what if I suspect my family has the winter blahs. Now, probably because if I'm assuming that there's a lot of moms on here, dads too, but moms have a built-in radar. They know when their child is sick. I remember when my kids would come home from school and I'd take one look at their eyes. I see it in eyes. And I would say to my husband, so-and-so is getting something. He'd go, oh my gosh, would you stop being so stop it. That's not true. A day later, that kid would be calling me from school or a teacher would be calling me, can you pick up your child? They're sick. So we have a built-in radar system that is like nothing. They'll never be able to reinvent that. Never, ever, ever. We know when people in our family, now again, I'm generalizing, but when people in our family are not feeling well. And how do you know whether it's something that really is having a profound effect on that family member, or it's just something sort of temporary? The rule of thumb is if this behavior is affecting everyday life, then it's time to reach out to a professional. And what I mean by that is if every day there is something that you see that is not a typical behavior, that's when you know you need to reach out to someone. So there are certain presenting behaviors in your spouse or child that you know are not typical and you know might have something to do with what we talked about on the previous screen, being overwhelmed, being overworked, whatever that is. Only you know what's best for your child, and only you know intuitively what's going on with your family member. So it's important that you assess your family and really maybe jot down what you see, because if you think that that's something that maybe warrants talking to your family doctor about, and I always use your family doctor as your first line of defense, if you have a great family doctor, that you have a list of what those presenting symptoms are and voice your concerns, without the family member being there saying, I'm seeing this, I'm not sure what it is. So really assess your family, really use your parent radar. The second thing I want you to consider is yourself. And I almost want you to rethink how you prioritize in your life. Moms, something happens to mothers. And when they give birth, everything goes by the wayside and everything is focused in on the child or children. And we can't help it. It's a survival instinct. It is to do with attachment theory. There's science behind it. Do you remember John Bowlby and all that? all that. I don't know if any of you've taken, first year psychology and you learned about John Bowlby's theory of attachment, but it's in us to super focus on our children first. Dads kind of get a different, they're in there too, but they kind of get a different perspective than mothers. So the thing to think about is, I would almost, on this chart here, where I said, where do I start? You start with yourself. Your priority list as a parent has to be self first, means taking care of yourself. Partner second, making sure that relationship is that strong foundation. Children third. And when I say that, parents lose their marbles. Everything else can go by the wayside. Work, yeah, it's important, but the health and well-being of you first, your spouse second, and your children third is really, really important. It's a hard pill to swallow for most of us. It took me years to figure this out. And when I started to take care of myself first, miracles happened in my family. My children became more calm. My relationship improved with my spouse. It was amazing. And the reason you focus on spouse second is because that's the foundation. Because when the children leave, and they will, I can't get rid of mine. They're 23 and 19, so I can't get rid of them quite yet. When they leave, you're left standing, staring at your partner and going, oh, hello, who are you? And you may have lost that connection, which is why I'm saying spouse is second. So let's look at assessing yourself first and then your family afterwards. How are you feeling post-holiday season? My husband was off having knee surgery. He's been off since December the 14th. He's been in the home. I work from home. It has been surprisingly marvelous, but we've had really deep, profound conversations about how this was going to work before we got in there. We actually went to couples counseling and we did our own counseling, which sounds really funny because, it's just surgery, but I know he had it on December the 14th, right before the holidays. I literally got everything organized and orchestrated right before the holidays. By the time Christmas rolled around, I was exhausted because I had to help him. Luckily, I didn't. My brother stepped up to the plate, yay, and said, I'm hosting Christmas dinner, so we didn't have to do anything. We basically showed up. And it really taught me a lesson about always making sure you're taking care of yourself. So how are you feeling post-holiday? Pre-holiday, do you have to do all the work that you're doing? I'm going to ask that question again. Do you have to do all the work that you're doing before the holiday season begins? Is it your responsibility to do all of it? And we'll talk a little bit about, in the end, about tips to help you. Are you feeling overwhelmed right now? Are you feeling worried? Are you anxious? Are you angry? Are you frustrated? Are you exhausted? Really assess how you feel. Okay, so that's I'm going to say first thing, and the second thing would be assess your family. The third thing to look at is your environment. So we have two spaces. We have our workplace. I'm fortunate enough and unfortunate enough to work from home, which can be really kind of a little bit difficult sometimes because you don't have a separate office space and you can sort of get distracted and do work when you're not supposed to be working. You're supposed to be taking time off. So does your workplace make you feel, is it conducive to you working well? Is it organized? Is it organized to the way you like it? Or is it a source of you feeling overwhelmed? So if your workplace makes you feel overwhelmed, and it could be the people in your workplace, it could be the space, it could be how your desk is set up. Is it ergonomically set up? Like, you really need to look at and evaluate your workplace. Does your workplace, is it conducive to making you feel great, which then improves your productivity, improves how you feel, improves your delivery of what you do to the people around you. The second thing to look at is, how does your home feel? I am encouraging families to really look at, is your home, does it have that cozy, relaxed feeling? Really, if you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, shelter is really important. And I'm going to throw in there shelter that makes you and your family members feel amazing. Like when you walk in the door, do you feel like, ah, or do you feel like, ah? Because if you're feeling, ah, maybe there's too much furniture in it, maybe the place needs to be redecorated, maybe the furniture needs to be placed differently, maybe it needs, maybe it needs like lots of throw pillows and blankets, and especially during the winter months when we're stuck inside. Is it a place that supports all the family members, not just you, all the family members, to live comfortably? So, and you know what's funny? Every parent I know goes all out to decorate their child's room. All out. It's got to have this. It's got to have that. It's got to feel like this, And then I talk to parents about their own bedroom, which is supposed to be a place, where you can chill with your partner and whatever. I'm sorry, whatever, wink, wink. Parents put their own space on the to-do list last. So it's usually the dumping ground for all the laundry, or it's the dumping ground of sorting through, the clothes that don't fit anymore. Or, everybody else's room looks great. Yours, you're still using your grandmother's bedroom furniture. Nothing wrong with your grandmother's bedroom furniture, but maybe it's not the furniture you wanted. Nobody invests in their bedroom, but if you do, it makes you sleep better. It contributes to your overall health and well-being, and it should be a place where you and your partner connect that's private to just the two of you. And it's really nice to be able to do that. And when your room smells, or when your sheets are fresh and your room is tidy and the air is flowing through, it makes such a difference to your relationship. So there's the three things on sort of where do I start? How do I, ensure that, or take a look at, do a temperature check, as I like to say, on what's going on around me. Okay. So let's talk about what we can do. So right now, for those people that are on the call or on the webinar, I would love for you to think maybe of 2 things that you can do for yourself within, I'm going to really challenge you, within the next 24 hours. What are 2 things you can do for you that's just for you? It's nothing to do with the children. It's nothing to do with your spouse or partner. It's only to do with you. Some people have told me that, oh my gosh, I just want to have a bubble bath. Holy smokes. It's been 6 months since I've had a bubble bath. That immersing yourself in water and just taking time to just breathe deeply, and maybe you've got some beautiful, scented bath products that you want to use, can make the world of difference. And there's something really beautiful about being in water. It reduces a lot of tension. And when I do mindfulness, and specifically meditations with children, the places they go to are all surrounded by water. The cottage, the pool, the water park. So water has a very calming kind of thing. So maybe it's you want to take a bath, a bubble bath, and do something for you. Maybe you want to go get your toenails painted. Maybe, you haven't painted them in 8 years, and, now it's time to get your toenails painted. I want you to think about 2 things that you can do for yourself in the next 24 hours. And I'm already thinking about my list, but I'm going tomorrow morning with a friend of mine to a salt cave, and I'm going to go do a 45-minute, 50-minute meditation, bring my meditation music, and I'm just going to listen to music and breathe in the beautiful salinated air. It's a wonderful experience. I recommend it to everyone. And there's salt caves all around, just all around in this, and sort of around in this area. So take a look. So the important thing for you to consider is practicing self-care. Another thing I'm going to suggest, and this could be one of your two things that I'm telling you to look at, is practice 3 minutes a day of just deep breathing. And I'm just going to take you right now just on a little journey of deep breathing. Some of you may have practiced yoga. Some of you may do meditation. This is a great technique that you can teach your children as well. So what you want to do is, if you put one of your hands on your stomach, you take a deep breath, and you can close your eyes or keep them open. You take a deep breath in through the nose and try and inflate your stomach with that breath, and then release. Did you see how long it took to get that breath out? And each time you breathe in through the nose, let's do another one, and you let it out through the mouth. Each time you do those deep breaths, you'll be able to breathe in deeper. That's what I teach children to do. It's called baby belly breathing, because infants, actually, they're breathing so deeply into the lower part of their lungs, it looks like their tummies are rising up and down. We become, sort of when we hit the age of 2 or 3, we become lazy and we only breathe in the top half. Breathing is really important to combat any type of stress, worry, anxiety, anger, frustration, any of those feelings that are big feelings that are hard to process. Deep breathing helps. And I suggest you do it before you fall asleep at night, improves sleep. And I suggest you do it before you get out of bed in the morning, kind of sets the tone for the day. Another thing you can do, take a class. I took vocal lessons and voice lessons, and for me, that is a really great thing. I love to sing. I speak. I need to take care of this instrument. It's really important, the instrument being my voice. And so I'm taking these vocal lessons from a therapeutic, but also what I've discovered is that I can really sing, and actually went into a recording studio last year and recorded some meditation music. So, it's just amazing what a little class can do for you, for your self-esteem and for your confidence. Say no more. When people say, oh, join this. Oh, can you bake 7,000 cupcakes for our upcoming bake sale? Oh, can you volunteer to be our member coordinator? Oh, can you do this? And the next thing you know, you have Zillow, that's a new number, zilch amount of time for self-care. Zero amount of time for you. It is so important to say no more and really do the things you love to do. And I have a great phrase that I've taught people. So when somebody asks you to do something, it's not really what you want to do. You know you want to do it. You can seriously look at them and say, thank you so much for asking me. My plate right now for commitments is completely full, but ask me again in the future. That loving place of saying no that way is just amazing. Okay, delegate, give it up, give it up, give it up. Kids can make lunches. You heard me, at the age of 4 and 5, they can make lunches. I'm going to say it again. They can make their own lunches. For many parents, this is just one of the most thankless chores ever. Kids love to participate in family stuff. Delegate laundry, folding, doing. Kids as young as 8 can do the laundry. They can do their own laundry. It's amazing to me. I saw a post on Facebook the other day that says, if your child can operate an iPad and a phone, then they can sure shoot and learn how to operate a washing machine. With your supervision, of course, to begin with. Socialize more with people you love. ask for help, hire help. Just please remember to pay attention to the three aspects of you. Make sure you're taking care of your mind, doing things that stimulate your brain, doing things to support your mental health, do things to support your body. That would be eating properly, eating enough. I've discovered that I wasn't eating enough. Like, what? And people have been telling me that for years. And then I started eating it more, and wow, totally changed how I feel. Going out for walking, running, swimming, whatever that physical activity is that you love, skiing, skating, curling, try something new, whatever floats your boat. And of course, take care of your spiritual sense of self. So whether that's going to church, whether that is making sure that in whatever your moral code is, that you're not compromising that to appease someone else. So really practice self-care for you. Find something that excites you to focus on, to distract you from the blahs. Build your support team, your circle of support. Who's that friend who will say, hey, I'm coming over. We're going out. Get dressed. Let's go. We're going to do this. We all have that friend. If your parents are there, talk to your parents. Maybe it's a sister or a brother. And if it's something that you feel maybe might need some professional help, again, like your friends aren't equipped to help you with that, then it's time to call upon the professions. And again, start with your family doctor first, and maybe reach out to a couple of people who've gone through similar situations, and just find that support team. Because if it takes a village to raise a child, can you imagine how many villages it takes to raise a parent? Yeah, let's do that math. I'm not going to do math because it's Sunday night, so I'm not doing math on Sunday night. I refuse. So what can we do for your family? So really, it's important to watch for signs of struggle within our family members. It could be, and I've got a whole list of symptoms here: angry outbursts, outbursts of tears, crying for no apparent reason. Let's put that in quotes, for no reason. Stomach issues, sore stomachs. I actually was talking to a mom just before Christmas with a child who's in college, and that child actually, I witnessed it and it was shocking, was having gut-wrenching pains. And the mother was losing her mind. Gut-wrenching, saying that the pain started in her stomach, went all the way around to her back, was in her shoulder, and the mother took her to emerge, I don't know, countless numbers of times, and this child was screaming and writhing in pain. And it turned out it was to do with school, because this child who has some learning disabilities actually was struggling because they had that messed up return, like all the teachers were on strike, all the profs were on strike at college. And so there was, they were just getting used to the school, and then they had to leave school, and it wreaked havoc on all the students. It still is, because I've got a few clients that are in that age range. So for her, this particular client, it was having physiological symptoms: headaches, unexplained headaches, panic or anxiety attacks, low energy levels to the point where they can't get out of bed, lack of sleep, too much sleep. All of these things, changes in eating habits, eating more, eating less. All of these things are behaviors to be aware of. And it gets a little trickier as they age, because what we learn is we learn how to hide them. And it's really kind of difficult for many of us. I don't know about you people on this webinar, but I am the mistress of acting. I don't know if you could tell, I was a little dramatic. But And so I hide everything, and I don't tell people what's going on. I don't tell people how I really feel. I hide everything. So no one knows because I am just an actor. And my son is the same way. My daughter and my husband wear their heart on their sleeve. You know, an instant. You look, you can smell it, you can feel it walking in. You go, what's wrong? And they go, how do you know that? It's because they wear it outwardly. So some of us wear our feelings and emotions and our struggles outwardly. Some of us, we have to do a little digging to find out. It's really important, too, that you find supports for your family members and the right supports. You know, again, starting with your family doctor, talking to your community, finding those professionals that can focus on supporting those struggles within your family. And, you know, usually it falls on the, falls upon the parent. Usually whomever is home the most does the digging to find out the information. And, but there's a lot of great networks out there that you can access. And one thing that I think is something we miss all the time, and when I'm working with families and their children are struggling, I say to the parent, have you ever asked your child what they need to best support them when they're feeling that particular way? And parents look at me and go, what? And it's amazing to me that that first line of defense is not used. We're so busy trying to fix things that we often neglect to ask the person that's being affected, do you know what would help you? Sometimes they have the answers and you don't need to access anything. Sometimes they will say, I don't know. And really finding out if they've ever felt that way before and what worked before. So there's a couple of things that that you can do for yourself and for your family. I'm going to be really curious to see what 2 things you're going to do in the next 24 hours for self. I'm imagining a whole bunch of bubble baths, and I'm imagining a glass of like Perrier, or if you like, you had a glass of Prosecco or whatever you like. I'm imagining that all those nice smelling bath things, the sales are just going to go up dramatically because I've suggested it to all the members of MBC. So let's look at some tips for beating those blahs and turning those winter blahs into winter yeehaws. So tip number 1. The family that plays together, you've heard that phrase, stays together. It really is. My husband said something funny to me today. It was beautiful outside. We're in southern Ontario. The sun was out. It hadn't started raining. And he said to me, you know what's weird? And I said, what? And he said, it's beautiful outside. It's one of the first warm days we've had. It's a Sunday, and you don't see people outside playing. He said, when I was, like, parents aren't outside hanging out, kids aren't outside playing. He said, see that open field over there? Well, when we were a kid, we literally would have been that field would have been filled with families playing or kids playing. We don't do enough activities together. We're so intent on giving our kids, and our families are so intent on giving them very orchestrated events. And yet, when I ask children and their parents, from a mental health perspective, where do they go in their mind that makes them feel the most calm and peaceful? It's spending time with family, and it's spending time with family doing nothing, playing, hanging out at the beach, going for a swim together, doing things together. We do so many orchestrated activities, we don't have free play. And kids need to play freely, as do their parents. because what it does is it gives you not only an opportunity to connect as a whole family, but it also brings about all sorts of brain chemical changes when you're not having to think all the time. It has all these profound effects on creativity. It's good for you. You're breathing in fresh air. It's fun. It's funny. Earlier this year, I was outside, and my neighbor has had 4 grandchildren. 3 arrived last year in 2017. So the oldest one was outside, and she came over, she saw me, she waved, and her uncle came over for a visit. And I said to her, well, it's time for us to make snow angels. She said, okay. So she laid down, she's 3. She laid down and made one. And then she looked at me and she said, you have to do it. And there I was outside on a bitterly cold, snowy day, making snow angels with the granddaughter of my neighbor. And I came inside and I felt so different. So, playing together is really amazing. Family outings, date nights for you and your partner, outings with friends, you going out, leaving your family, doing something with friends. Together as a family, pursue activities you've always wanted to try. One of the things I want to try is snowshoeing, and for the love of snorkels, I have yet to try it. So find activities that distract you from the blahs. Tip number 2, steer clear of triggers such as situations. So if you really, or your kids really struggle with comparing themselves to others, get away from social media. I've gone off it. I've gone off Facebook. Some days I go, oh my gosh, if I see one more thing about American politics, I'm going to lose my mind. I can't watch this. I have to go do something. Because there's a lot of talk around ideals of perfectionism, and people are posting photos of themselves looking perfect with their perfect family and their perfect house, and here's my $20 million renovation, and here's the $80 billion house, and oh, I'm so this, and I won awards and they won awards, and blah 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 blah. If it triggers you, stay away from it. If there are family members that trigger you, try and avoid them. If there are people in your friend list that aren't really friends, ditch them, get rid of them, say bye-bye, so that you don't have to deal with those triggers. Really important, and it's a great skill you can teach your children as well through modeling. Tip number 3, make changes to your home environment. One of the things I suggest is creating an own zone in your home. And what that is it's a space that any family member can use. It can be a chair with a blanket. There's no technology. Maybe there's one of those little fake candles that kids can turn on or off, and it's a place where you can just go and sit and chill. Maybe there's a basket of books. Maybe there's some crystals. Maybe just some really neat little knickknacks that any family member, when they're feeling overwhelmed, they can go in to that own zone, that space, do meditation, do whatever they want, just to chill out. We need to have that. And again, going back to your bedroom, making sure that you have a nice space to connect. Tip number 4, find your supports. Who is your dream team that can support you when you're feeling blah? Who are those friends who pull you up, who distract you? Who are those family members you just love to hang out with? What foods do you love to eat? Do you love to cook? Maybe you want to get back in the kitchen. Maybe you want to have somebody else make you something. Maybe you want to bring in a chef for a night. Maybe you need to get away for a little mini getaway, whatever you want. Maybe you need to book some professionals who you can talk to will work with you to keep you feeling amazing. Okay, so tip number 5, book mini getaways with your family. Trips to the indoor water park. I'm seeing a lot of people. So some are going away on big vacations and some are just going away locally. We went one time, literally 3 kilometers from our home, rented a hotel for the night with our kids. There was a pool. We went in. My husband forgot something. He drove home, picked it up, brought it to the hotel room. It was hilarious. And the kids still talk about this to this day. Remember when we went to the hotel? It was just around the corner from our house. Ha, 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 ha. We went out for dinner, but it felt like we got away. Book a mini getaway with your spouse. Find someone who'd love to take your kids. If that's something that you need, and my husband and I are actually going away next weekend. We go to Niagara on the Lake. That's my place to go. I totally disconnect from everything. Phones, whatever, book treatments, have dinner together, just him and I. And it's a great time for us to connect. Museums, libraries, lots of places you can take your family. I'm thinking of local community centers filled with stuff you can do as family. And the last tip is about involving your kids. We're always doing stuff for our kids, but we're never asking our kids, hey, how would you like to contribute to this family? How would you like to book a trip? How would you like to take on the laundry? How would you like to help? What would you like to do? And you can start them when they're really, really little. Like when they're 2, they can help mommy and daddy and whomever is in the house, the caregiver, to sort socks. And it's a great teaching tool. Kids are itching to help out. So get your kids involved in beating these winter blahs. And they get so excited. Get them to plan a date night for you. That's the funniest thing. When I've suggested that to parents, the stories I get of the kids planning this date night, and then one of the kids gets to dress daddy or mommy, the other one gets to dress mommy or daddy, and they come to dinner and they set it all up. Like they design it. Kids love to do stuff like that for their parents. They just love to get involved. So if you want to do a mini getaway, give them a budget, get them to plan activities. You'll really be surprised at how fast the winter blahs go to the winter yeehaws, and how much better you feel as that cohesive family unit. So I'm very aware of the time. It's 8:58 p.m. according to my clock. So Ruth, I don't know if there are any questions that maybe people have asked, or would we open it up for a minute or two of questions, or do you have questions?
So we haven't had any questions come in. I think seems to be a very quiet group. But I, as you were talking, Laurel, this has been really good. I've been, making some notes and writing down some things that I need to go and do or not do.
That I think in your case it's or not do.
That's probably the case. But it made me laugh when you were talking about, clearing away your house and stuff. I have a great suggestion for anyone that's struggling with that. Is if you can go and get new flooring, because that's what my husband and I just got new flooring in, and you would be amazed at how much stuff you end up giving away, selling, throwing out, because it's like, well, now we brought all the furniture back in, but it's minus a whole bunch of things, and it feels so good. And you go into the living room, and it's like, it's
so
amazing.
Different. I know.
And but it kind of forces you to do that.
It does. Now, I'm not recommending, well, look, we're just going to have everybody going out and getting new floors, I think is the whole situation, and we're going to have to get some flooring people on, these calls when flooring sales go up. But, that whatever the impetus is for making that great change, and then like even painting, new artwork, a new chair, a new business idea. All of these things can be fodder for, you know what? This is not working anymore. I think I need to change stuff. So whatever it is, whatever, as I think I wrote in the presentation, whatever floats your boat, that's what you need to focus on.
Yeah. Yeah. So true. So true.
So let me ask you before we finish off here,
okay.
What are the 2 things you're going to do within the next 24 hours?
So the one thing I wrote down here was yoga. So when you're talking about the whole breathing and stuff, it's like, if I just took, 5 minutes a day just to breathe and do a couple of yoga moves in the morning and just kind of write, right my mind, and that's just me, shut the door. There's no kids, no dogs, no husband. That's manageable. That's something that,
Mm.
that I could do. So, yeah, yeah, you've inspired me.
Oh, good. Thank
I would
goodness,
I would
because
be taking that bath, except I hate our bathtub. I'm so so I'm not
uh-oh,
going to do
now,
that.
now the bath companies are coming on board and going, okay, we got to fix you up, girl. We got to take care of you.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we got to wrap this up. Laura, can you just take us to the last slide, if you wouldn't
Absolutely.
mind?
Oh, look, who's
Oh,
that?
there's all your information.
I love that. Oh, I forgot about the last slide. So if people want to reach out, I'm more than happy to talk to them. They can text me through that phone number, visit the website, email me, whatever method of communication they want. I'm here, and reach out, because sometimes this is a real struggle for people. This time of year is really a big struggle, so I'm here. I'm here to help you find supports or whatever. Just have a conversation. I'm open.
Fantastic. And I will be sending out an email, a post webinar email and I'll include this information plus the link to the recording of this webinar and some information about our February webinar as well. So I'll make sure that your contact information, Laurel, is on that.
Perfect. Thank you.
And if you could go one more slide.
One more. Oh, because I'm in
Yeah, one
control.
more
Oh,
slide.
thank
There
you.
we go. Yes. Um, so don't forget to fill out our survey link. So at the top of your screen, there's that little survey link up there, or you can also go to bit.ly/MBCJanuary. Our next webinar is February 25th. It's about how to build a robust relationship with your partner, and I'm so excited to do that as well. I just want to say a big thank you to Laurel. This was a really good talk. I was getting messages from different board members that are listening and going, oh yeah, she's really good. Oh, she's so funny. So thank you so much for joining us and for being our speaker for our very first webinar session. So learning along with us as we try this out and do this.
Well, thank
Thanks
you
so
so
much.
much for your patience.
You Mac people, I tell you.
Yeah, I tell you. Thank
Yeah, yeah.
you.
All right, all right. Well, thank you so much. I'm going to stop the broadcast now. Please fill out your survey, and we hope to see you next month. Take care.